The movie It Ends With Us, starring Blake Lively, was a huge box office hit, even as rumors.
Oh boy, how the turntables.
Well, well, well. How the turntables.
It's been only a few months since Blake Lively was declared the biggest career disaster of 2024 by the entire internet, including me. And now here I am, realizing how bad we all got manipulated into seeing things only to the surface level, falling into every single trap that were planted by PR agencies and not understanding the tricky games the Hollywood keep playing at. Today we are accepting our mistakes and giving credits where the credits are due. So yes, Blake Lively was wronged by all of us. And Justin Baldoni was allegedly the evil mastermind behind all these. So, how did we get to this point? How things changed so quickly? Let's talk about it. In a nutshell, what should have been a high-profile collaboration between two Hollywood stars instead became a turbulent and ultimately devastating ordeal for Blake. The movie It Ends With Us started it all and revealed how dark Hollywood can get, especially for women. Back in August, right before the movie's premiere, it was revealed that behind the scenes, the dynamics between Blake and Baldoni were not as perfect as they seemed. At the time, we all manipulated into thinking that this was because Blake was an ultimate bully, and Justin has had enough of her. Now, as the allegations of harassment, manipulation, and a deliberate PR smear campaign quickly surfaced, we realized that things were completely the opposite of what we were leaned to believe back then. Thanks to a bombshell lawsuit filed by Blake herself a few days ago, the truth is gradually coming to light. And saying it's shocking is an understatement. So how come Blake, a supposed villain, has turned out to be the ultimate victim in all these? Are you as surprised as I am to see how things eventually turned out this way? Let me know in the comments. Well, Blake's lawsuit alleges that Baldoni repeatedly crossed professional and personal boundaries, making her work environment uncomfortable and unsafe.
Justin Baldoni is being sued by Blake Lively for sexual harassment. The suit is alleging that he was showing her nude photos of women, like nude photos, videos, and talking about his past porn addiction and his sexual conquest, and talking about the cast and crew's genitalia.
According to Blake, Baldoni engaged in unwelcome and inappropriate physical behavior during the filming of intimate scenes, one of the most disturbing incidents involving him allegedly biting and sucking on Miss Blake's lower lip during repeated takes without consent. I mean, even thinking about it makes me so disturbed, I can't even imagine going through it. This is only the tip of the iceberg, though. In a statement, Blake described how this was not just one isolated incident, but a pattern of behavior that persisted throughout filming. Every day I walked on set, I never knew what was coming next, she shared. It became unbearable. She also recounted how Baldoni reportedly showed her explicit videos without her consent, and his continuous comments about her appearance were anything but flattering. It was like I was being reduced to an object, she added. I mean, anyone can understand how difficult it is. Must have been for Blake to film an entire movie in such an environment. But I feel like women across the globe can relate to her more, since most societies have a tendency to objectify women in one way or another. Can you relate to Blake's horrendous experience in any way? I can't wait to hear your experiences on the issue.
What really happened. A campaign to tarnish Lively after she alleged that Justin Baldoni, her co-star and director, and Jamie Heath, the producer.
But unfortunately, this behavior wasn't just limited to awkward moments on camera. Blake revealed that Baldoni also made uninvited and inappropriate visits to her trailer while she was undressed, further violating her privacy. I mean, yikes. Plus, he allegedly allowed friends and crew members to watch her film intimate scenes, violating the boundaries of a professional set. As you can see, these actions were not only unprofessional, but made Blake feel as though she had no control over her own body in an already vulnerable working environment. Like, how can all these happen in 2024's Hollywood? I truly cannot understand. It sounds like a Hollywood nightmare story from the 1920s or something. Understandably, the physical and emotional toll these experiences took on Blake were monumental, but regrettably, the real damage started when her career began to take a hit as a result of these actions. And this is where we all owe an apology to her. Do you regret falling into Baldoni's evil trap back then? Are you as shocked as I am? Let me know in the comments. While Blake was dealing with this toxic, on-set environment, the worst was yet to come. Baldoni, who was clearly aware of the damage his behavior was causing, allegedly weaponized his PR team to shift the blame onto Blake. In other words, he already saw a couple of steps ahead and decided to attack Blake before she attacks her, essentially kicking of the PR wars. Apparently, this tactic of misdirecting the public's attention was an attempt to protect Baldoni's career and reputation by hiding his inappropriate actions. So, the war began as his PR team started pushing a false narrative. Blake was difficult, unprofessional, and toxic to work with, and we all fell into it. Especially the press, which was quick to latch onto scandalous headlines, started echoing these accusations. The initial image of Blake, which was the charming, likable star, was tarnished in just a couple of days. Reports surfaced about her unwillingness to collaborate on set, her difficult behavior, and her alleged attitude problems. We all began turning on her, unable to see the reality behind the curtain. I mean, I can imagine many of you saying, but she was truly rude and unbearable in all those interviews. And yes, you are right. However, being unlikable or perhaps somewhat annoying do not necessarily mean that she is a bully or a liar or someone who is very difficult to work with and thus deserves to be an outcast. No. Perhaps Blake is not the loveliest person on earth, but this does not justify what she has gone through, not even a single bit. How do you see Blake now that everything has come to surface? Do you still see her as a mean girl? What we didn't know at the time was that these claims were fabricated to deflect attention from the truth. According to Blake's lawsuit, the PR campaign was not just a few scattered rumors. It was a deliberate, calculated effort to destroy her reputation. The smear campaign engineered against me affected every part of my life. My career took a blow, and it became harder to trust anyone in Hollywood, Blake explained in a statement. The most significant casualty of this campaign was her canceled Saturday Night Live appearance. Blake was originally slated to host the season 50 premiere of SNL, but following the smear campaign, the pressure from the negative media attention became too much to bear. She had to back out, knowing that stepping into the public eye while the smear campaign was ongoing would only exacerbate the situation. Jean Smart ultimately stepped in to host in her place, while Blake stayed out of the limelight. But the damage was done. After months of suffering in silence and dealing with the constant PR attacks, Blake decided she had enough. In one of the most important moves of her career, Blake filed a lawsuit against Justin Baldoni, revealing the full extent of his actions. The lawsuit went public, and with it came the shocking allegations that would turn the entire narrative on its head. In her lawsuit, Blake outlines not only the harassment she endured, but also the long-term consequences that followed. As you can imagine, her professional and personal life suffered tremendously. The effects on Ms. Blake's professional life were immediate and substantial, the filing states. Blake recounted how her ability to accept high-profile work was severely hampered, with the SNL hosting gig being just one of many opportunities she had to turn down due to the negative press surrounding her. The lawsuit also describes how the smear campaign and harassment led to severe emotional distress, affecting her relationship with her family, particularly her husband, Ryan Reynolds. "We have been through so much," Blake shared and added, "It was heartbreaking to watch the world turn on me, especially when I knew I had done nothing wrong." I can imagine Blake's decision to go public wasn't easy, but I wholeheartedly believe that it was necessary. She had no choice but to fight for her reputation, and this lawsuit was the first step. The truth about Baldoni's actions and the PR machine that worked overtime to paint Blake as the villain is now exposed, and we cannot ignore it. Did you ever believe that Blake was the ultimate villain in any of this? Drop your thoughts below.
Has your opinion of Blake Lively shifted since last Friday?
To perhaps everyone's surprise, once Blake's lawsuit hit the headlines, the tides began to turn.
Man, I thought I was going to be done talking about this, but Justin Baldoni's publicist is speaking out. Jennifer Abel is the publicist, and if you remember in the lawsuit, there were text messages between her and the crisis manager, Melissa Nathan. We all assumed that Blake's legal team received those text messages through a subpoena, but I guess that's not the case. Jennifer Abel posted on Facebook, which Demois has shared, and let's read what she had to say. "Hi, I never thought the day would come when I needed to defend myself with my own peers, but this certainly has been an interesting and devastating, quite frankly, couple of days, so here we are."
A lot of us who had once believed the negative reports now rallied behind her, condemning the harassment and manipulation she'd endured. The online community, especially on social media platforms, began flooding the internet with messages of support for Blake. "I can't believe we were all fooled by the PR lies," one fan tweeted and added, "Blake deserves better than this." And this represents the overall change of sentiment perfectly, in my opinion.
Another hit for Justin Baldoni because he has officially been dropped by his agency.
Celebrities also came out in support of Blake. Colleen Hoover, who is the author of It Ends With Us, took to social media to express her support for her, calling out the toxic set environment and echoing Blake's claims about Baldoni's behavior. No one should ever have to endure that, Hoover wrote in a statement. Blake's friends and peers began speaking out as well, further exposing the depths of the PR manipulation that had been used to tarnish her reputation.
Blake Lively's brother-in-law, which you can see standing right here.
So, in just a couple of days, the backlash against Baldoni grew louder, and we were now asking the questions they had ignored for months. How did we let this happen? And why didn't we listen to Blake from the beginning? And let me tell you, both are great questions to ask. As the truth about Baldoni's behavior spread, his carefully curated public image began to unravel. Baldoni had long been considered a Hollywood good guy, a likable actor, and a rising director who appeared to care about social causes. But this narrative, it turns out, was just a facade. As the allegations against him mounted, it became increasingly clear that the charming persona he had worked so hard to cultivate was nothing more than a PR strategy to hide his true nature. I mean, how many times should we fall into the trap of a good guy to realize that no one who presents himself in such way is actually good? Like, how many?
I don't give a fuck about Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, okay? I don't give a fuck. But let me give you a word of advice. If a man spends basically his entire public life being very performative about how good of a man he is, about how extremely sensitive, empathetic, and good of a man he is and wants to be, you need to look a gifted horse in the mouth. You need to set up a dentist appointment for yourself.
So, Baldoni's career began to take a major hit, just like Blake's did a few months ago.
It just keeps getting worse for Justin Baldoni because not only did SAG-AFTRA speak out, but Brendan Sklenar spoke out, his co-host for his podcast spoke out, and he just lost an award.
Projects that were once in the works were now delayed or dropped entirely. We all began to question how much of Baldoni's career had been built on manipulation and deception. One thing was certain, his reputation would never be the same. Baldoni is finished, many of us started to say. He manipulated us all, and now he's paying the price. A part of me feels like this is exactly what happened to Blake back then. But the other part of me knows that Baldoni deserves all these because his actions were absolutely not acceptable. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if some of you guys see him as the symbol of everything that is wrong about Hollywood. But let me know what you think about him. To me, the fall of Justin Baldoni is a stark reminder of the power that PR agencies hold in Hollywood and the way they can be used to control public perception, even at the expense of an innocent person's reputation. Like, at this point, I have no idea what news is right or wrong and how to navigate this Hollywood machine. Like, in a way, it is kind of scary that even us, people that are somewhat knowledgeable about the media literacy, can fall into such calculated traps so easily. But I feel like Blake's experience serves as a wake-up call to the industry about the darker side of Hollywood, particularly when it comes to how women are treated. In an environment where toxic behavior is often excused and swept under the rug, it's clearly so easy for powerful men like Baldoni to manipulate the public. So, what happens when a woman speaks out against the abuse she faces on set, but her voice is drowned out by the PR machine of a powerful man? An absolute nightmare. For more updates on the PR wars between Blake and Baldoni, make sure to like and follow. Meanwhile, the video on the screen might also interest you.